when you operate a business, you just have to be pragmatic. If the artificial intelligence can do a better thing at a lower cost, I don't have the how to say like the any reason to keep some human resources.
The following is a long open conversation with Julien Sicard, former MBA director of ESSA Shanghai, content director for the Genius Agency, and co-founder of LinkedIn Local Kuala Lumpur. We got a chance to sit and talk about many topics, like what is the world growing up when he was a child in southern France, his passion for football, and his love for entrepreneurship. This is On the Lawn with FVR podcast. If you like this thing, feel free to like and subscribe and to contribute to the channel on the description below. And now with y'all, Julien Sicard.
I love the setup. You are the ultimate growth seeker for it. That's impressive.
You can say hi as well.
Hey.
There you go. And we can take a sit.
Yeah.
Take a sit. Usually it takes a while until we finally get this setup done. So those are early beginnings. One day there will be a studio.
Yeah.
Until then, it's better to enjoy the ride.
Yeah.
I guess we can start.
Yeah, sure.
3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode on The Long with FVR. Today we have Julien.
Yeah, nice to meet you. How are you?
So far so good.
Yeah.
It has been quite a hectic day here. A lot of movement, a lot of events going on.
Yeah.
But also a lot of activity.
Yeah.
I realized that you also are building a lot of activity, and like let's say in LinkedIn or in KL. But a lot of people may have some questions and
Yeah.
want to ask, what is this guest of today? So
Yeah.
I would like to ask you, can you tell us a little more about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Julien Sicard. I'm an entrepreneur. It's now over 8 years and I am based in Asia and I've moved recently to Kuala Lumpur. So I have two main businesses. My first business provides content and SEO optimized for American companies. And what we do is like mainly to go faster. It's like kind of McDonald's, like from the request of the client to the final delivery, we are able to deliver in less than 48 hours. How we do that? Well, incredible team combined with artificial intelligence. And my second business that I've launched recently is a publishing company on Amazon. So again, we use artificial intelligence combined with incredible designer, and we produce coloring books for kids and adults. And on the side, I began to launch this community that I used to run in Shanghai called LinkedIn Local. LinkedIn Local was actually a hashtag, and the idea is, okay, let's meet beyond the profile, let's meet physically to develop new connection, new business opportunities. I scaled that community in Shanghai, and that was basically the number one professional community with over 6,000 people. Every event were like fully booked, over 120 people. And the idea is like, how can we develop that community as well in Kuala Lumpur and connect with other cities from all around Asia so we can develop business and opportunities together. Yeah.
That sounds very nice, and it's like an opportunity. As long as you deliver and you create value, it's like you create contact. Sounds very good things.
Yeah.
So this is going on right now in KL, but before you mentioned it was going on in Shanghai.
Yeah, correct. So we were organizing one event every month, but because of COVID-19, and I guess people were kind of afraid again to meet with each other. It was like really killed these communities. There were over 2,000 cities all around the world. Because LinkedIn is such a powerful brand that it was gather naturally professional people to really connect and really develop new relationship. And so now we are really trying to relaunch this community locally in Kuala Lumpur and see how it goes. But I believe the power of community. What I found out here in KL, but you're gonna tell me if I'm wrong, at least people that were living in China, they were like, where are the networking events here? I mean, where are the opportunities? I mean, people are going to answer, yeah, okay, let's grab a lunch 101, but it's really hard to connect with people professionally to develop really opportunities. At least that's what some people told me since I arrived. So our goal really with that community is like to facilitate new business opportunities and yeah, to be a new player in this kind of networking communities that exist already in Cairn.
It's very insightful what you mentioned about the contrast between these two different scenarios.
Yeah.
Because I also realized a little of difficulty when you come from other places. In my case, from Houston, Texas, it's
Yeah.
like, hey, usually you have networking events
Yeah.
every month. There is a lot of
Yeah.
things,
Yeah.
and to take a pause because of what happened 2 years ago,
Yeah.
it changed the behavior of some people.
Yeah.
I realized as well that there is certain cultural or ethical or religious things that people must observe. And it's like, okay, if we want to meet in a common ground, that common ground has to cover almost everybody.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
see that's the biggest compromise
Yeah. Exactly.
because you need to cover everybody. Or there will be always somebody who say they are not comfortable.
Yeah.
So that's something to consider. I realized that events that are industry focused or sponsored by certain companies have more success.
Yeah. Yeah.
And let's say for a moment, if you are a private wealth company,
Yeah.
you need to acquire clients or to network with clients.
Yeah.
It's assumed that you must cover the expenses. So they come and they,
Yeah.
once they are, let's say, in the good manners, then they are, okay, starting to disclose information or
Yeah.
share certain kind of things. So that's
Yeah.
the thing I realized at the moment.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, some people think, okay, I'm just going to focus on my industry. But the thing is, if you want to scale your company, it's like what I say is like you're only one connection away to become more successful. You know what I mean? It's like, as a business owner, okay, you need to know about human resources, you know about accounting, all of this kind of stuff. And again, you don't know what kind of opportunities you're going to have. I mean, that's interesting. We are at the Asian School of Business because I used to run events in incubator in Shanghai. And just because I was posting that I was giving public speaking, about like entrepreneurship, well, at the time I was specialized on the platform Shopify. It's a platform to develop e-commerce website. And just because of that, one director of the school, I was only 25 years old, began to call me, hey, Julien, I see you are very influential. I was like, not really, but okay. Would you like to come to our school and become a professor of entrepreneurship? And in my mind, I was like, no, you need to have a PhD or crazy thing like that. And yeah, that's the way really I get into teaching. I mean, I always enjoy education as a side hustle to really create contrast because I feel like, yeah, with students, you can really exchange and you need to take a step back as well as a business owner because, yeah, students and the newest generation have great ideas and there are things that we can really exchange values. So that's my point is like a lot of people, unfortunately, and that's just my observations, they don't try to push themselves out there to try to develop new opportunity. But see, like someone, let's say in education, can connect you with someone else and things can go faster and you can take a path even in your professional career that you didn't expect. So that's kind of my approach is like, yeah, just be open to any kind of connection. You don't know what you're gonna learn, right? So yeah.
It's true. It's something that when it always comes out right, we call it serendipity.
Yeah.
A succession of happy events.
Exactly. Yeah.
And now that you mentioned about entrepreneurship, the entrepreneurial focus of creating these events is one thing,
Yeah.
but also the drive is totally different because it's independent from the motivation, it comes from a discipline itself. So I need to ask,
Yeah.
when the entrepreneurial knack started to kick in?
For me, well, you mean in the past at the very beginning? Well, there was first I wanted to launch myself in politics. A bit of side story, like yeah, I did my internship in the French embassy in Beijing, and I was like kind of glorifying, like okay, I'm gonna become an ambassador, but Not to sound really caricatural, but yeah, I mean, politics is very limited. I believe now in the 21st century, like entrepreneurs have more power to impact really like yeah, the direct environment or life of people. Uh, because simply the government has only power if you think you're gonna give them power. Giving you an example, if the citizen of a country decide to not pay taxes anymore, the government gonna fall down. So it's just an illusion. It's just fake, in fact. But as an entrepreneur, or if you develop a new concept, you can literally change a lot of things. So that was kind of my perspective. It's like life is just a game. So what kind of game I want to play? And I feel like yeah, entrepreneurship it's an answer about freedom as well. Um, I respect people who are employee, obviously, but I see kind of being an employee, being slave. And I don't want to insult anyone, but that was my perspective as a young adult. I was like, I don't want to trade my time to achieve other people's dream, right? What's the point? And yeah, unfortunately, it's not like you can, because you are already in the routine of that company. I mean, some companies, some people could align and feel like it's good. But for me, yeah, I was like, that's not really what I want. So that has been always my vision. Is like, I'm not French. I'm a citizen of planet Earth. If I want, I live in China, I live in Indonesia, now I live in Malaysia. I can go wherever I want. I don't belong to one passport. Right now, I'm extending even to get a Polish citizenship and Polish passport, which, again, you have to diversify. And yeah, when you get out of this kind of mindset, I belong to that country or I belong to that company, you begin to find really, real freedom because no one really stops you to live anywhere you want or operate your business anywhere you want. You know, it's like I could put my business in France, but you know, it's kind of a socialist communist country taking like 40% taxes. I don't know how businesses operate, but yeah, if you put your business in Singapore, you're only gonna pay very low taxes, and that's what I do. It's like you go where you are treated the best for your business, for your direct life. I mean, Malaysia, come on, safety, good food. That's really the place to be. Yeah, that's kind of my vision on living my life. And same for entrepreneurship. The way I operate my business is 100% remote. Because if you depend on a physical location, anything happen, that's really bad. It's really hard to pivot, and a lot of businesses shut down like that because they were operating physically during COVID-19. So, yeah, that's kind of the vision I have.
It's very important to have that vision. Is also a function of the instruments that you have at hand.
Yeah,
Because there will be some people who will say, yes, you can travel because you can. And instead of taking, for the people who may be criticizing this point, it's like, instead of taking the side of I am the victim, try to be
yeah,
proactive and say, I can do this as well. Let me find a way.
yeah, exactly. I'm gonna be very honest. Like when I see the whole work agenda, especially running in the West, and this kind of victimization mindset. I mean, like, you know, if you begin to complain, oh, about your race or your nationality, I mean, no, I could have said the same. Oh, I'm not American. I'm not gonna be able to achieve things. But the thing is, like, no, you can't think like that, and you cannot play really the card of the victim all over and over if you want to achieve things. And yeah, that's the thing that is kind of sad with, especially the newer generation, or I don't know, people don't tend to think, and it's again about the mindset. You are in control. You can create your own opportunities. But if you really switch into that mindset, like everything's gonna change. In fact, no one really give a fuck about your gender, about your race. It's like, are you bringing value? Are you solving other people issue? And yeah, if are you genuine? I really believe like if you do good, I mean it's kind of the karma thing, you know, like your good's gonna come to you. That's all. I mean, but people unfortunately they create their stories to themselves. It's all about the story you are creating for yourself. So that's why it's important to create a new story for yourself and not necessarily to follow what your parents did. You can really create a completely new story for yourself. Yeah.
Talking about the stories, and given that you were in several places before
Yeah.
coming to Shanghai,
Yeah, yeah.
I need to ask, how was the war when you were growing up? How was that place?
Well, growing up in the countryside of south of France, I would say it was pretty limited. I mean, like, yeah, first of all, let's talk about, like, yeah, diversity. I barely never met any Asian, believe it or not, until I was, like, what, 14 years old? I didn't even know what was, I don't know, people who were homosexual. It's like, because it's not that we were not, like, inclusive, but it's just like, it's kind of laid back off, in terms of mindset and all of this. And as well, like, yeah, I mean, the traditional path is like, okay, you're gonna make studies and after get a job. No one really talked to me about entrepreneurship or things like that. But yeah, I mean, life is really like a video game, and I feel like, yeah, the world before when I grew up was more simple in terms of connection. Now people are kind of awkward, being over and over on the phone, or extremely reactive as well, and more individualist. I feel like, yeah, there were more a structure about, like, okay, Sunday is time for family. I mean, kind of Catholic values about, okay, this is the way we do, and that's always the same thing. But yeah, after already what changed for me, it's like, yeah, traveling. The first country actually I live in was in Brazil. I live in Rio de Janeiro. So yeah, I think in life you need to create contrast. So yeah, if you when you're a student, 20 years old, and you live in a favela where, like, literally I had, like, bullets that across my kitchen because, okay, you have some gangs and crazy things like that, to really understand the world, because people, like, yeah, complain about other country, but what sense of reality do you have to judge actually any other country if you didn't really experience? Well, from that to, I don't know, really living in okay, I can say it, like a luxurious condo in Kuala Lumpur, like, 11 years later. So I think it's all about really, in life, what is interesting is really creating this kind of contrast to have a better understanding. But yeah, the world changed for sure. But again, I still feel it's possible to make, like, meaningful connection and help each other. Yeah.
Now, given that you were growing up in France, and there were different times back in the 90s,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
remember there was a particular time, a particular moment a lot of people want to refer to you, which was the summer of 1998.
Yeah.
So, what do you remember about Zinedine Zidane and the French national
Oh
team?
wow, it's just incredible. It's like, I feel like, yeah, my first reaction actually was kind of empathy, because there was fireworks everywhere to celebrate the victory of the French national team. My first reaction was asking to my mom, "Do you think they have fireworks in Brazil as well?" Because, I couldn't. I was in such a joy, but I was like, okay, do you think other people are sad? I mean, that was just my first reflection, but yeah, that was completely insane. It's like, I feel like that date was, well, first of all, there was the birthday of my grandfather, and that same day I learned to swim. I was able to swim because I was in my summer um, beach house, and yeah, it was such an incredible day with the birthday of my grandfather. Me finally being able to swim, and wow, and all of the happiness about, okay, wow, as a nation, as a diverse nation, we are able to achieve such a great thing. I mean, that was the first time the French national team was winning the World Cup, so that meant a lot, and it was in France. So yeah, that was really a great moment. Yeah.
Oh yes, I remember a lot of people around the world began to have certain affections for the the red, white, and blue, and
Yeah,
also it was, oh, look at that, they actually are playing well.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So that was something that they took as
yeah,
a timeless memory, and
yeah,
of course the confirmation with the euro
yeah.
and all the things.
Yeah, I mean, that's what made me really love football. Actually, one of my cousins, second degree, played for the French national team, so it even emphasized more. Well, he only plays, you're gonna love, but he was actually elected best player of the Confederation Cup in 2001. He was not selected for Euro 2000, yeah, 2004. But yeah, it's so, yeah, I mean, my family has been always into football. Uh, my female cousin actually play as well in the first division for the French feminine team. So yeah, I mean, we really grew up with football. Even from where I come from, like actually, it's more land of rugby. Yes, football or soccer for you American is
And
really part of our identity. Yeah.
to realize that there have been historical French teams like the Marseille,
Yeah.
like the Lyon, and nowadays the PSG.
Yeah.
What is the thing that people is missing when they want to only say this is the French way of playing football?
Well, the thing is like, okay, now we can talk about a bit of economy. Since the love of Bosman in the 90s, I mean, the European football as overall really, really changed because we begin to really mix all of these international player, and I think it's kind of like kill the identity of like clubs, you know, or the way to play a certain way, because it's really now we have an approach of the European football that is very capitalist. It's like, okay, you're gonna have a completely squad from one year to another. So that's the first thing. Is like, yeah, there is no more real identity. Second, the real issue is like now this newer generation on the public channel, you know, we had like the Champions League for free until I think it was back 2012. But in 2012, like the UEFA Champions League began to privatize. So now you have a whole generation that don't really understand football. Man, I live the best memories as a kid with my grandfather in front of the TV. But the thing is, like, when you begin to privatize, sports is a popular football. It's for the first and foremost for the masses. And I feel like now because of yeah, I mean, even if you want to go to the stadium, not everyone can afford that. I mean, go in I don't know, like the Barclay Premier League, like yeah, the minimum you're gonna have to spend is like $80 easily. I mean, not everyone can afford that. I feel like for me, and again, I'm talking about back 10 years ago. One of the few clubs that didn't lose his identity was Flamengo. I mean, and it was such a pleasure because first of all, I was student, but I was, because I was student in Brazil, I was considered as a pro-Brazilian. I mean, I was kind of in a special category. I don't know why. It was kind of a privilege to be an international student. And I had my entrance for the match only at $2, so that was really, really good. And you could tell like yeah, like the identity about the club. But now, I mean, in over Europe, I think it's kind of lost because now, yeah, not to sound caricatural, but there's gonna be a bunch of Chinese tourists in the stadium because they can afford the ticket, and because, of course, if you visit London, that's the thing to do. And unfortunately, when you kill your basis of ultra supporter, you kill the ambience in the stadium. Yeah, I mean, I try here about the Kuala Lumpur Football Club. Was still looking for the ambience. I don't think Malaysia is really a land of football, but yeah, it was cool. You know, it's fun. I mean, I enjoy once in a while. So yeah, there's a thing that changed. It's like this ultra consumerism about football and raising the prices is not the same ambience. But I feel like in some club you're gonna be able to find that. Maybe the only one, honestly, in France would be Olympique de Marseille. Like, yeah, you're gonna be able, but the rest, like, it's over commercialized. Something for Paris Saint Germain. I mean, like, yeah, I have few of my friends that used to really follow PSG, but now since, yeah, it's fun. Like, you have top star player, but it's not the same really. Like, things have changed.
It's
Yeah.
true. It's been like the commercialization of,
Yeah.
and also the access.
Yeah.
I remember there is even times you can only get a ticket if you're a season pass holder.
Yeah.
And it's like, I want just to see this game.
Yeah, yeah.
And also the identity based on what kind of coach or what kind of, let's say, people who can help you develop. Also the
Yeah.
under 20, the under 15, that is usually the feeders for the
Yeah.
clubs.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, like, if we analyze the city of Rio de Janeiro, it's very interesting. Flamengo, it's, for example, the club of the poor. It's like you still have this.
It's a popular one.
Yeah, it's popular, but that's really the poorest people that's gonna support that club. While Fluminense, that's the rich. That's people living in Copacabana and Ipanema. And you have the Botafogo. Botafogo, it's really like the middle class. So it's really interesting to see, like in Brazil, like the sociological component of the club, it's still about the same. I mean, just go to the Maracana and see it for yourself. You're gonna see that, like the people supporting Fluminense are so bourgeois. I mean, of course, you're gonna have some poor, but I mean, popular class. But it's a stereotype. I mean, it's gonna be always like that. Well, Flamengo, that's really people from the from the favela, from the poorest neighborhood. But this in Europe, we don't have that because, like I say, it's like you need to have money now.
The closest thing I ever heard was that in London, one thing is to be a Chelsea fan, another thing is to be an Arsenal fan.
Ah, yeah.
That's the closest thing I heard.
Okay.
And of course, nowadays it's gonna be versus United
Yeah.
versus City,
Yeah, yeah.
those kind of deals. In
Yeah.
Germany, it would be maybe München and Borussia, but it's
Yeah.
like it's still it's losing right now that kind of grasp.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Now, you mentioned something about football in Asia.
Yeah.
And it's true. Here, I realized that they love football. They love to watch football.
Yeah, they do.
And they consume a lot. The issue is that they consume a lot of international football and
Yeah.
they displace a local product, which is something that they should focus because once they start investing and creating a better product,
Yeah.
then all of a sudden they are starting having a better national league. For
Yeah.
example, I read the news that the Malaysia national team is concerned
Yeah.
for the Asia Cup because
Okay.
they don't have good rivals to face with
Yeah,
in order
yeah.
to train. And it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, it makes sense because if you don't have a good national team,
Yeah.
how can you attract, let's say, people from Central America or South America?
Well, first of all, change the rules about immigration and about citizenship. I would say, if you allow in a easiest way, like to get a dual citizenship, then they would change a lot as well because now you have like team like Qatar, they're gonna literally nationalize people from Spain or whatever country, so like the team can be better. And I feel like I mean, one of the pain points. I mean, just my short observation is only 3 months now. I'm living in the country, but Malaysia has so much potential, but they really struggle about immigration. Like it was insane for my visa procedure. I mean, yeah, you make good money, you want, but like the procedure is not straightforward. It's the hardest visa procedure ever. So, look, I mean, at the end of the day, it's like why people will pay for Malaysia if it's like that hard to even enter in the country and go through all of this process. And yeah, I think that's a challenge where, and that's a political standpoint where like the Malaysia government need to really take those things seriously. But like, okay, we need to make it easier to attract foreign talent. We are not afraid for the, well, I don't think I am afraid for the local population, but we can really bring a lot. And that's the same thing when it comes down to a sector like football, where okay, make it easy to have like foreign players. So like okay, or trainer. Imagine like you have like standard of a French trainer coming into the country and begin to really train local team. I mean, really like I could see the difference just even in Brazil. Like the way they play in defense. Like I'm just like, guys, have you ever learned to play collectively football? Like it's so funny. Like they all want to be. They are really individual, like a Neymar, but they don't learn like that. Okay, well, that's the European football that and more specifically in France, where you need to be physical and push the people like that and be like strong and being close to the guy in attack, where the defense in Brazil doesn't exist because it's not part of their culture. Well, in France or in Europe, like, yeah, it all begins with a good defense. And from the good defense, we do a counter attack. That's always some strategy. Strong defense, you put the guy in attack that go really, really fast, and yeah, you do a counter attack and you shoot a goal. That's kind of our way of playing football, but it works because, yeah, it's well, you see, Spain is interesting. I used to play a lot 10 years ago with Spanish player. It's really a lot of pass, a lot of pass. They really work like that. So yeah, I mean, I think like, yeah, if you begin to bring this talent from Spain, from Germany, where, I mean, yeah, there is a school in France, for example. I think we train the best goalkeeper and the best defense. I mean, our defense and our goalkeeper are most of the best. Where, okay, if you want a collective football, bring me a trainer from Spain. So imagine, like, okay, Malaysia begin to facilitate this kind of people coming into the country to develop a Malaysian football. That would change everything. Or something is like, yeah, allow the dual citizenship for people to come and play for the country. Or something for the investment. I mean, there is a lot of potential. I mean, like, yeah, you have team like Selangor. Imagine if you begin to bring the money from China, Chinese investor, and you begin to like compete. Like let's say Malaysia is like, we bring so many investors, like we begin to compete like the Saudi league, and begin to buy a Neymar or a Cristiano Ronaldo. I mean, that would be possible, you know. I mean, Malaysia is interesting. You have the biggest here Chinese diaspora all around the world. There is a lot of money from the Chinese community, and I'm sure like some Chinese billionaire would love to really contribute for the football, because football is also a strong soft power to defend the country. I mean, honestly, before Qatar or Dubai or like even Saudi Arabia, we never really heard of this country, but now they have a position in the world because of football. So yeah, there is definitely room for improvement for the Malaysian government on that regard, about how can they contribute better about sport diplomacy and facilitate investment from foreigners. Yeah.
This is a very nice quote that you just mentioned, the sport diplomacy,
Yeah.
which is something that people love when they, especially when they see the Olympics or when they see
Yeah.
like the Cup of the Seven in rugby. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, the sport diplomacy.
Yeah.
How fantastic is to see the haka dance by the All Blacks of New Zealand when they're
Yeah.
facing right there. That's kind of a sport diplomacy.
Yeah.
And who wants to see the ceremony before the coin toss when the captains are given the flags and everything? That's a very nice way to put this for diplomacy. And it's true. Imagine so much investment to create the Asia League.
Yeah.
That would be something, because Thailand, they have good product.
Yeah.
Indonesia, they have good product as well. And it's like, yeah, imagine the mobility among the region.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
there are some things that even you can create like like an entrepreneurship
Yeah,
case to study for business school. I
Yeah.
can see that going on.
Yeah.
Now, given that right now you are building something which is a LinkedIn in KL,
Yeah.
I realized that there is a friend
Okay.
that happens to be an acknowledgement for both of us, Monica Migares.
Yeah.
So I want to ask, how has been for you the world of fintech? How has been for you collaborating with her?
Well, I didn't really collaborate with her. We just connect on LinkedIn, and I was like, okay, can we just meet? Because yeah, I could see her already posting a lot of content, and yeah, actually the first time we met was just last week because of LinkedIn. Yeah.
Oh yeah, she happens to be also a guest of the
Okay.
podcast many episodes ago. She runs also a series.
Yeah, she's really active with her podcast, and yeah, I mean, I'm always fascinated to connect with content creator, because yeah, I was like, girl, you need to to monetize a podcast, because yeah, I believe she could indeed like make a living out of it. And yeah, begin to, I just like to interconnect people, so I'm beginning to introduce her with other people and people that could be potentially interested to again sponsor a podcast because fintech. I mean, honestly, you have so many like startup or people that want visibility. So yeah, I mean, content creator already have power, and that's why it's important as well to have a network of content creator to see what kind of collaboration we can have. Because when you have an audience, you grab the attention of people, and if you grab attention of people, that means you have power, and that's all about okay how we can interconnect between each other. Yeah.
Attention, power, and people.
Yeah.
And we discussed football recently.
Yeah.
There has
Yeah.
been a big event that happened in Australia and New Zealand
Yep.
recently, the Women's World Cup.
Yeah.
And given your passion for the sport, I would like to ask, which are your thoughts about the tournament that coronated Spain as the new world champion?
Well, I think it's interesting to see now even women football has more attraction and more visibility. I think more effort has been made as well to promote because like yeah we are trying to like bring more this sport, but it took time. It's not necessarily that there was discrimination, but again, it's like how you go from a stage. Because I was talking about my female cousin. I'm telling you, at the time, someone playing in a Premier League in France as a female was only making I don't know $2,000 at best. Now you can make easily $15,000 as a salary for any kind of team, and so I feel like yeah, this is interesting to see now there is a professionalization and more like yeah, um, professionalization and more visibility. I mean like yeah, I've observed like just the ads for the American national team was completely insane. I mean actually, soccer in the US is more popular for females than males, so that's kind of interesting to see like yeah the difference. So yeah, I feel so far so good. It has been a great success. Yeah, I mean it's just a pity about like the Spanish trainer. I found it quite shocking and gave a kiss on the lips to one of the
Oh
female.
yeah,
I
I saw
was
that.
like, so I was like, okay. I mean, like, yeah, definitely. I was. That's a pity. That's a pity that people have to act like that. But overall, yeah, I think it was a great success. Yeah.
Yes, because finally we saw the improvement of many teams competing in a high level.
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
remember so many years ago, like
Oh, it
people
was
were
boring.
complaining,
It was boring.
boring, or even sometimes there was only one or two teams that they will collide in the semifinal. So
Yeah,
usually it
yeah, yeah.
dilutes the product of the big final.
Yeah, but like I say, it's like I remember a few years ago, female player complaining we should be paid as much as a man, but it doesn't work like that. It works like okay, how much attention do you bring, so you're gonna make that level of money. If the newest generation is gonna play as good as a male, well, with their own style, I mean, there is no problem. And see, we can see already, like I mentioned, there is an evolution because there is a professionalization. But it's not about like making stupid rule about equality. Like the way in free market that it works is like, are you offering a great show? And because of the fact that you're offering a great show, can you capitalize on that so brand gonna sponsor? And I mean, there is so many opportunities you can develop, especially like yeah, let's say the sportswear, etc., really targeted for women. So yeah, I mean, and I feel like the brand feels that as well. It's like that's in the interest of everyone to professionalize football for women because the brand's gonna make more money, so they can sell more product. But yeah, it's gonna take time. I mean, it's like for anything, like yeah.
I also have to bring the attention that it was good to make the call for the equal payment because the awards for men national team that barely make the group,
Yeah.
they were doing a lot more money than the women who were making the actual trophy. So that disparity was like, okay, at least give the rewards a little better.
But I would say when you make that level of money, it's not necessarily about equalizing about gender. It's not about that. The money should get back into the amateur football, okay, because it's like non-profit organization that really trains the next generation. And I feel like, yeah, this is the same. It's like, okay, because, okay, FIFA World Cup of male versus the female, the amount of money you're gonna make is not the same. So you can, I mean, it's not really about the federation to try to equalize about the different gender, but it's like, okay, what is the percentage that we should actually redistribute to the amateur football? And see now that the female football is increasing, the same thing is like that money should actually be redistributed to like develop to help the amateur club in order to train the next generation of professional female football player to again like be better and yeah.
And there was an intrinsic problem that many people didn't want to discuss back then, which is
Yeah.
the pool of money. How
Yeah.
to grow the pool of money. And instead of doing those fights, it was okay, how can outreach more people? And this is, let's be honest,
Yeah.
a small critique to the Office of Censorship of New Zealand. I hope you're watching this. Because it was hard for this World Cup to share the videos. There was
yeah.
no videos on YouTube. It was
Yeah.
very hard. And how can I share? Look at that, there. This game is going on when you are cutting some stuff, or there is a geo-blocking number two.
Yeah.
Like, it was really hard to send the videos in Latin America because the videos were
Yeah.
blocked.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's another deal.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on country, depends on the rights for each country. So yeah, it's kind of the challenge. I mean, like yeah, like internet in the early beginning was really great because there was no control, but now there is so much control depending on the country where you are at. And I feel like still a lot of people struggle about what is a VPN, so I can have access to any information like it used to be in the very early stage of the internet. And yeah, this kind of the pain point to have this kind of visibility for this kind of competition to indeed be more viewed by more people. Yeah.
It's fascinating that you mentioned that yes, we need to pay for a VPN in order to enjoy the internet that
Yeah.
it used to be in the past. And
Yeah.
I began to also feel a trend on certain products. Like
Yeah.
you need to pay a premium to enjoy like the way it used to be.
Yeah.
And isn't that a danger of entrepreneurship? How to find avenues to avoid these roadblocks?
Well, it depends. Like a VPN is solving a problem, and I think it's worth paying to avoid like censorship. But again, you still have free VPN, so you don't need necessarily to pay for a premium one. In some countries, like in China, you have no choice. Actually, like yeah, the other day I was like, oh man, I was paying quite a premium price. Like it was almost like $200 for the year for the one I used to pay in China because they had like server optimized. Because in China, everything from the West is literally blocked. So yeah, if you control the information, you control the mind of people. That's where like the governments are really really strong. So yeah, and again, it's like in our time, it's like how do we navigate through censorship? You know, like about the access to information. I mean, like even language, for example. Let's take language. It's like in French language, it's like it's so limited what you could get access about business, entrepreneurship, or new opportunities, or even investments. Now that I'm totally fluent in English, I'm just like, I'm just laughing. It's like there is no, like the amount of value you could get in French language, it's absolutely ridiculous. So see, that's also another issue. Is like on the internet, if you don't speak fluently English, you are already really limited about the vision you're gonna see the world. Taking an example, like just my visa here, about the new digital nomad visa program that Malaysia is offering. There is no information in French on the internet.
Oh.
So I just found that information because of YouTube, and that information was available in English, you know. So So yeah, I mean, in today's world, and especially the newest generation, if you don't master English, that's also another issue. The first issue is like, okay, do you have a VPN? Second, do you master English well enough so you can actually benefit from the information and knowing where to look for the right information so you can have new opportunities. Same for you, I guess. Like for the MBA program you find here is because you speak English and you had access to this information. But imagine, yeah, you are in China, you only speak Chinese, and maybe on some channels that is like Western social media channel, that school is not promoting at all. So, see, it's all about like, yeah, what language and what channel you are in to really find the opportunities for yourself.
It's all about creating opportunities, and I believe that's the main reason entrepreneurship has a place in the mind of the young and also in the mind of the adults.
Yeah.
And given that you've been in many places, I need to ask,
Yeah.
which has been the little differences you've seen across the regions?
Between which country?
All
would
the
you like
regions
to
that
know?
you want to discuss.
Okay, difference about what? Could you be more specific about your question?
Maybe ways to do business.
Oh, okay, yeah. So, first of all, American, it's so easy to make business. I feel like, yeah, with American, it's really about chit chat and knowing, okay, what are you doing? People are not skeptical in the US. It's like, okay, we like each other. Okay, here is the budget. Okay, let's see if you can bring me value. And that's about it. American, and that's why, I mean, again, American are the number one in the way of making business because it's super straightforward. It's like they know how to make business. I don't know how to explain it, but it's in the DNA of American people, no matter what, because this is a land of opportunity. People came from different immigration from nowhere. A lot of people we have. I mean, the American dream is still there. I think, like coming from nowhere, from I don't know, Puerto Rico, and coming to America and becoming a millionaire. That's possible. But see, in some other country, is like, for example, France, where you have like 50% taxes. What I feel like when I begin my entrepreneurship journey is like, to see, we were talking about preconception of people. Okay, see, like I could have said, yeah, I'm discriminated because I was young, so people were calling me, oh, you're a boy. That kind of thing. And I have an accent from south of France. And yeah, I mean, in Paris, like the network, it's so like hidden. I mean, it was really like, if you're not a bourgeois from Paris, you're not gonna have the, how to say, you're not gonna be able to fundraise or all of that kind of stuff. So, and the government tried to interfere too much. Okay, that's cool. President was like, we're gonna be the startup nation. We're gonna begin to give free money, but yeah, you give free money, but on the other hand, you're gonna tax 50%. It makes absolutely no sense. So, in the way to do business, French people are really skeptical about everything. It's like they want guarantee. While an American, it's just normal. They're gonna pay first before the service is delivered. There is more trust. In China, yeah, it's what we really call the guangxi. You need to know that person and that person. It's really like, yeah, relationship, deep relationship. But I'm sorry to say, sorry for the Chinese that's gonna listen. Chinese people tend to be cheap, and yeah, it's like for them it's like, because there is this vision how I can maximize the profit is like, okay, I'm trying to pay as low, where in the American culture is like, okay, it's about being fair. It's like the fairness is like, okay, I can have a return. Okay, I'm gonna pay you fairly because I want to keep the relationship, etc., etc. And for the other country, I don't really know because I didn't really make business in any other country. But yeah, I feel like that's the main difference about like, let's say, Chinese, European. I mean, I think the French situation we can generalize pretty much. I mean, this kind of skepticism exists all over Europe because we live in countries that are very social and a lot of things are provided for. So people are just okay, I'm gonna try it. They want to try things, so they don't take really, really seriously. Where Americans are more in a long term kind of relationship when we engage in business. Yeah.
It's very important to realize that people always want to do business, and there are always things like, there is a new regulation or there is a new tax, and it's like,
Yeah, Europeans are really good on regulating, but the thing is like you can regulate, especially for new technology. Like the times that okay you're gonna regulate because an innovation is a disruption, and you need to see how the disruption is gonna evolve. But the thing is like there's a main issue in Europe is like they try to make legislation for absolutely everything, and it's a complete nonsense. It's like it's almost like they try to make you feel guilty. Oh, you are not in the right to do this and do that. It's almost as an entrepreneur. I'm sorry, but you don't have time to think about all of these things. The only thing you have time for is the growth of your company. How you're gonna evolve. So if it feeds the regulation or whatever, you don't have time for that. You don't have time for administration. And I'm gonna say it very honestly. That's why I opened my company in Singapore, because that's a low tax country. People want in Singapore, they want you to make money. So okay, great. Pay a bit of taxes. It's fine. You make it easy for the accounting. And that's what I want. I mean, like, yeah, I mean, the process is super straightforward. And yeah, I feel more comfortable, like, yeah, operating business from Singapore, which is actually a lot of, it's very interesting because in my situation, if as a director of the company, you don't live in Singapore, you pay no taxes on your salary. Or if you don't have anyone operating in Singapore, you pay almost no taxes on your company. So all of my team is operating remotely. I have no one in Singapore. That's why I avoid on paying taxes. So some people in Europe will say that's fiscal evasion, but I call it fiscal optimization. That's all. I mean, like, and that's the thing that a lot of countries they don't understand. It's like country compete with each other to actually attract people to operate business, create new opportunity, because of course for a little city state like Singapore, that's why so many like the number of people with billion and million of dollars is increasing, because that's very advantageous for people who are wealthy, and that's why like so many people like are gonna put their money in the bank in Singapore because it's safe. People, the state of Singapore wants you to be rich. They don't care as long, okay, you complete your accounting and you are transparent. Because in the past there was some money laundry, but I think like they get their things together. Like that's the thing is like country thing like okay you depend on them, but you don't. It's just like if you look out there. And again, it's about having the right information. Me, I didn't have any idea that in 2 weeks you can open a company in Singapore. In 2 weeks. You don't ever need to go there. You just need to send a few paperwork. And that's all. You're set up to get your bank account, to get your company, and you're ready to go to make business. Yeah.
it's very important that you reflect on the sentence when you say this country wants you to be rich.
Yeah.
Which is totally sometimes parallel. I'm not sure how far in the spectrum when somebody says this country wants you to be proud.
Yeah.
I mean, when a country wants you to be rich, it's like, hey, I want you to be well because it serves your family and it serves your kids and your children's children generation.
Yeah.
Which is very cool because
Yeah.
at the same time, it's like they are not looking for confrontation, they're looking for prosperity.
Yeah, prosperity, cooperation, and that's why I think the Singaporean model it's interesting. I mean, if you let the people being free, I mean, I'm a believer of the free market. I believe like the market auto-regulates itself. Kind of a vision of libertarian if we take an American perspective. And so, I feel like unfortunately, like the government are kind of scared because they want to control people, but I feel like this is not the right way. You know, it's like the propaganda about COVID-19. Like, people didn't even question. I mean, like, about the common sense. So maybe some people are gonna call me complotist, but I'm just gonna say it. It's like people begin to take a vaccine that they didn't even know that in average it takes 6 to 7 years to develop a vaccine. And so, how do you know the vaccine you're gonna take? Okay, actually gonna operate well. Now we see more people dying from a heart attack, and all of this was because of indeed a state country propaganda about it that was completely coordinated. And see that's the thing. Is like, unfortunately, because people are reactive, they're gonna believe, oh, I depend on the government for my life, for the things I can achieve. I cannot do it with the government. And I feel like nowadays people don't take responsibility for themselves. They, and that's why they give too much power to the government. Is that okay? The government's gonna solve all of my problems. But so yeah, I mean, for when it comes down for health, you are the only guy responsible for your health. If you don't eat healthy, I mean, like the rise in cancer. I mean, it's just because now we have more and more industrial food. People don't even take a step back to educate themselves. I mean, you have everything on the internet. You know, like okay, how to eat healthy, how to be physically active. Another something when it comes down for finance, operating a company from abroad, all of the information is out there. But yeah, I feel like people, unfortunately, they are too much cross-minded and they don't open themselves up to like the new opportunities. Because yeah, it's like, no, a lot of people told me, oh, Malaysia, blah blah blah. It's it's yeah, it's a very integrated Muslim country. No, like you go in Kuala Lumpur, it's incredibly diverse. You have all of the religion. You have excellent food. The safety is everywhere. It covers my basic needs as living in a direct environment. I mean, I found myself being very happy here. Where in the meantime, you know, country like the US. No, I was in California last November. And so
No way.
so crazy in Target, little city called Brentwood. It's 1 hour from San Francisco. I enter in a Target. People begin to fight just like that. I'm just like, this is completely insane. You will never see that in Malaysia because people behave. And that's the thing is like people think they don't have any other choice about, okay, I could live in a better environment, but I'm sorry. How to live when every day, like if you live in France or in the US, you are scared to even go to your supermarket to be like, okay, maybe I'm going to be stabbed. I mean, the West, not to criticize the West, but that's just a reality because people become so reactive, so selfish, and like there is no more law. Like, yeah, you are at the risk of being stabbed at any time. Well, see, while you are in Kuala Lumpur, you are in a city where it's safe. People behave, people are polite, and yeah, and that's why you need to have curiosity. And like I say, you need to go where you are treated the best.
Exactly. You need to go where they treat you the best, and at the same time, we need to reflect that sometimes the role of the government is just to put certain laws to discipline people.
Exactly.
But it's
yeah.
like you should self-discipline yourself. Like, let's be honest, a lot of coffee is bad, a lot of alcohol is bad, a lot
Yeah.
of sugar is bad. But not for the sake of that, we should ban sugar
Yeah.
or
yeah,
coffee.
yeah.
The same can be with everything. And also number two, sometimes I see here people behave in a certain way because there is like a common sense that if they say something, they're gonna be cross-checked with each other.
Yeah.
And it's like you should not live in fear.
Yeah.
But freedom also comes with responsibility.
Yeah,
So it's
exactly.
like it's a give and take. It's a friction that to generate always a better way of living. Now we have light.
Yeah.
Those are the lights that we were discussing right now. Check this out. It looks like a
Oh, yeah.
spaceship.
Yeah, exactly. We're gonna go to Mars.
Oh yeah, if Joe Rogan has a mothership, we also have a mothership here.
Cool.
Now, realizing that a lot of things has been going on, and we are going towards a new age
Yeah.
post-pandemic.
Yeah.
I need to ask you about your professional career, about the compromises you made. So, which
Okay.
was the most challenging compromise you did?
Professionally, you would say? Compromise. Well, it's could you be more specific about the question? Like, yeah,
Remember that Thomas Sowell's once wrote that we don't make final decisions; we only make compromise. We always seek to do the best compromise available.
well, I feel like, yeah, one of the compromise I had to do was basically lay off some people, but it's a necessary compromise if you want your company to operate because, things change, and unfortunately, how would I say? Some human resources is not like I didn't want to keep them, but in a way, when you operate a business, you just have to be pragmatic. If the artificial intelligence can do a better thing at a lower cost, I don't have the, how to say, like any reason to keep some human resources. And I feel like, yeah, we are entering in a new day and age when it comes down on operating business, where there is more competition and companies need to integrate more AI if they want to survive. And now the reality is, another thing is like a lot of people think they were kind of arrogant during the pandemic, thinking, okay, I'm gonna leave my job and everything's gonna be alright. So I think that power was called the Great Resignation. And now it's interesting to see that, okay, now it's called the Great Regret because more and more companies are laying off. That's just a fact. I mean, we are entering in kind of a dark age, but again, it's like destruction creation for economy. And like what we are living with artificial intelligence is the same kind of revolution with printing. It's like, yeah, things are going faster. And the thing is, people and especially employees that don't understand that you need to have adaptability, to have a lot of curiosity, you're not gonna survive. You're not gonna survive. Nothing is guaranteed in this new world. You're gonna have to learn constantly because, okay, let's talk about the evolution. First of all, you are competing with people in your field from a country perspective. Then we enter in the 90s, globalization. So let's say you are a guy from Austin, Texas. You were competing with the Chinese, and the Chinese maybe were as good as you were for lower price. But now, like, it's getting insane. It's not even on a global scale. We are competing with artificial intelligence, and basically, like, yeah, it's like, as human, if we want to survive, I mean, especially in terms of work, etc., we need to have an understanding of how this AI tool is working. Where, okay, they cannot compete. Content creation, for example, and what you're doing, okay, you're still in the safe spot, at least for 10 years, we're gonna see in 10 years. But yeah, it's, and see, I had a discussion the other day, very interesting, with one folk here in KL saying, like, I don't understand why professors don't teach in the university about the challenges of AI. I'm not going to say danger because there are opportunities and there are dangers, but I would call it more challenges. Yeah, we have a whole generation that literally is not understanding what's going on. And that's going to be hard for them. And so that's why it's like, yeah, one of the compromises I had to do, me, I'm fine, my business is still operating, but yeah, I think I cut off my team by 50% because I found that I was able to operate with a lower cost, with new processes, integrating AI, and making more money out of that. It's just like you have to be pragmatic, you know. Yeah, at first it was some kind of to make the company making a profit because I reached to a point where my human resources cost was too high. And now I optimize so much that like yeah, I'm good at making good profit again. And but see people and corporation not understanding that it's gonna be really really hard. And that's the same way why Elon Musk cut it off a lot of people in Twitter. A lot of people, you know, I'm sorry, but they are just dicking around in company. I mean, you know, I had the opportunity to work with like Fortune 500 company. Like one of the last campaign I did was actually a Fortune 500. Not to blame, but the marketing director, God bless her, she was from Korea. But you know, is it like just about showing off or making a call with us as a marketing agency for things that were not even relevant? It's just showing off. It's not about like being really, how to say, efficient about the work you are doing. And this kind of people just doing blah 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 or just like useless meeting and not operating efficiently, it's not gonna survive because there is one day like okay, the CEO of a company is gonna be like okay, what we can cut off, what we can be more efficient. And that was something for us. What we found out is that we literally cut off meeting in our company. The way we operate is we just record Loom video to give feedback. And just like, okay, here is a 3 bullet point of the thing you have to execute. Here is the feedback for the client. What is the point of making, like, with new technology, meaning? It's just like pointless. You waste each other. Because let's say you have an employee and, okay, he has a certain cost per hour. If you begin to take his time or her time out of the task that he is or she is supposed to execute for like useless meeting just for showing off and being like okay, we are a team, that's totally pointless. Like you are making actually less money. And yeah, I mean that's kind of my company culture. We really operate remotely, trying to be as effective as possible. Like I say, we're not here to be best friends. We are here to make money. We are here to grow the profit of the company. So like, yeah, in 12 months I can give you, I can raise your salary. I mean, it's just being pragmatic at this point. So yeah, it's kind of my concern because I feel like not a lot of awareness is raised around this AI and how it's gonna impact the next generation. And see, what you do is actually smart with the podcast because the thing is like your network is your net worth. If you know people, man, that's why you begin to really create opportunities and all of this kind of thing. And that's the thing. As a former MBA director, I was actually running an MBA program in Shanghai. So I was trying to explain to my students is like, guys, you need to put yourself out there. You need to network with people because people live in this education need. Okay, that's cool to have an MBA or okay, but that's not enough. You need to create a network for yourself. So that's the first thing, and to basically survive in this kind of future of work. And the second aspect is like having enough curiosity to master like this new artificial intelligence tool, so you don't get dominated by this AI tool or being replaced. And that's the thing. And I think people don't have awareness about it.
It's relevant to mention that sometimes they are not aware, or
Yeah.
somebody else or some entities are blocking that information to give access. Because
Yeah.
let's be honest, a lot of people have been playing with ChatGPT,
Yeah. Yeah.
and there are places that instrument is banned. So that's another thing to realize. Or they want to do their thing on their own, or sometimes there is not enough chips to create the power to analyze all of this.
Yeah.
But without being prisoners of the moment, we also see that this is always like a wave. You remember that 4 years ago it was the blockchain thing,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's like how to be hype agnostic. Very important because as we discuss about business, it's all about the big fundamentals.
Yeah,
So I was happy to hear that one of the biggest compromise was how and when to do the layoff because there was other things to bring more revenue.
yeah.
It can be a little difficult to analyze from the ethical standpoint, but you need to bring bread to the table.
But yeah, I mean, business has no ethic. Business is only driven by the fact, and because we live in a capitalist society, by making more profit. Because if you make more profit, then you can reinvest and influence more. You know, it's all about that. It's like how you combine. I mean, what we call ethical, it's only an individual perspective. There is no like I have to say like. Uh, Ethical general view about thing. You know what I mean? Is that okay? People gonna feel offended. Oh, that's not good. You lay off people, but yeah, but at the same time, as a business owner, for the people that produce value from my company, because okay, I'm not running a non-profit. I don't have free money. I'm relying on providing value to my clients, and I have competition, and I have to adjust my costs. So it just like you just have to be pragmatic in business, yeah.
About being pragmatic and about business, something in Asia I realized
Yeah.
is that they don't want to pay the interns. Like, I don't know what is going on. Because in other places, when they extend you an internship offer, you gotta be paid.
Yeah.
But here, for some reason, it's like, yeah, you're an MBA student, 1,000 ringgit.
Okay.
And it's like, wait a second, what is going on? Or, yeah, we have a project, and then it's like, I don't know if I should pay you. We just think about something else. So I want to discuss this with you based on your experience in China.
Okay.
Why the case for an employer to not pay the intern?
Well, it depends again about the regulation. I mean, if we take the example in France, the minimum for an intern will be $500. Okay, so I don't know here about the Malaysian context, but in China, for example, I think the minimum was $1,000, something like that. Uh, Look, at the end of the day, what would be the reason? It's because an intern know nothing and they have to humble themselves enough that, okay, this is an opportunity. Okay, maybe you don't have a financial compensation, but because of the network you are creating in the first place and the free time that your manager is going to take to train you, and okay, I mean, you can be a support for little tasks. I mean, yeah, like it's basically like, yeah, you need to prove yourself first. And I know a lot of people through internships that were not necessary pay. The return on investment is seen 1 year later because they're gonna have their first job offer. So, I think it's kind of fair if like, okay, after you have a promise that, okay, because that's what the companies want. They generally want, okay, yeah, we love that person, we love John. Yeah, he did a 6 month internship in the internal communication. Yeah, he just graduated, let's hire him, you know. Um, it's not necessarily like, I mean, again, like I'm not in a position to judge. I mean, some countries make a legislation that is different or not, but I will say, like, you know, I work for a lot of, for free for a lot of people, but in return, the knowledge that I get was really, I was really able to monetize that later. So I think it's pretty strong if you are. But you know, when you are young, you think like you are better than anyone else. To humble just yourself a bit and be like, okay, fair enough. I mean, and again, it depends on the countries. So in some countries, they can actually sponsor your internship, and you can still have income, etc., etc. So I don't really know about how it works here in Malaysia, but the other thing I will say is like, yeah, I mean, like, try to humble yourself and be sure if it's not a pay internship that at least you're gonna have really great opportunities and skill out there.
It's true.
Yeah.
Because it's like an incentive structure. You
Yeah.
don't have something right now, but you will get it later.
Yeah.
That the promise must be exercised. That's something to discuss.
Yeah.
If a company decides to do near those, then that's a red flag, and it's like, wait a
Yeah,
second,
yeah,
what is
yeah.
going on?
Well, again, like the company needs to be really specific about the job description. If it's like vague and we want an intern to have an intern, red flag, just don't take that internship. And like, yeah, be sure that the person that's gonna manage you is gonna actually really be trying to guide you, etc., etc. And yeah,
How many managers hire interns and then they go for vacation, and it's the associate that has to be in charge of those?
yeah,
How many times have we heard that?
yeah,
Many,
yeah.
many times.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I had an internship like that in Thailand. I was supposed to be the right hand of the CEO. The CEO was never there. Was always in a business trip, and actually, I really did a depression. I mean, I was like, imagine first of all, I am the only Western with a lot of Thai people coming in the office, trying to be helpful, trying to see with different department, hey, how I could be of support, etc., etc. But yeah, so I was basically completely alone, and I was like, hey, what to do? I mean, it's like 2 months, I still have 4 months going on. I'm dying. It's like really, I think this is the worst to do an internship or to do a job where you're basically very isolated. Your colleague don't even invite you for for lunch. You're completely on your own, and yeah, that's the way I basically begin to create my first business. At the time, like yeah, my ex-girlfriend who was Korean told me, hey, I have this Korean dude want to do a cover letter for entering a business school. Can you help him because you're good at it? I was like, yeah, sure. The guy just transferred like that $150. So, so I was like, what? You already transferred the money on the bank account? Because it's like that, you know, in the culture of Korean, they pay for anything related to education. And I was like, okay, I arrived at the office. There were barely any mistake. 10 minutes, I already made like $150. I was like, man, I'm able to make money. Like I was, and I don't know, it's just like that did like that in my brain, and I was like, okay, wait a second, like my internship, like they don't care about me. I'm just gonna go on YouTube and learn about entrepreneurship. So after I get in touch with one of my former professors that was teaching us about building website, I was like, hey, I'm gonna create a website in Korean, absolutely insane, to help the Korean students that want to apply for the best business school. And I began to make a shit ton of money. I mean, you're gonna laugh, but I was literally with some Korean helping to basically write the thesis of Korean students that went in PhD, but the level of French was really catastrophic, and they were paying us like $3,000, $4,000, and began to make some good money just like that. And I was like, okay, here I am. I have a business, and I didn't really expect that. And yeah, that's the way really. So see, that's kind of interesting. You could grab really the worst internship ever, like the conditions are not there, and bam, everything is aligned, and you begin your journey in entrepreneurship. Honestly, that's not what I really wanted to do in the beginning. I only wanted to have like the safe page, working in embassy and network, drinking champagne and have some nice toast, and that's what I wanted to do. Wearing a nice suit, and then I was like, yeah, wow, that's really cool. I was like, wow, that's cool. I mean, I love my country. I was like, how cool is that to really? Because I mean, yeah, the way you do a cover letter or apply for a business school in France is very, very specific. I mean, for Korean student, or Chinese student, because after I expanded my business to Chinese, I was like, wow, that's really, really interesting, and it's significant. I'm helping people to achieve their dream, to basically come to France, learn a new language, and being part of the top business school in France. But man, when I was pitching that project, because I was trying to raise some money, and because France is a very socialist slash communist country, people were shocked. They were literally destroying me on stage. how could you make money out of student? But I was like, that's the market, the one that it's like that in Asia. I mean, it's cool. Look, I'm contributing for your university to have more talented students from all around the world. What are you complaining about? If they are happy to pay me for the application, what are you complaining about? Because that kind of model, in Asia is totally normal for like Korean and Chinese students. You have a bunch of private companies like that operate, to place them in like different universities around the world. But when I was pitching that, I was in France. I was like the bad guy. So every time, like you had like the stupidest ideas that were rewarded, like kind of social. But again, like this kind of social idea doesn't work. They don't make money. Unfortunately, it's not what the market wants. Well, mine, I had like a proven business model, but for them, so see, we come back to the ethical and unethical. So see, that's very interesting actually this time. For them, it was totally unethical that I could make money out of student. But it's not that I was making money out of student. They don't have the money. It's the parents they have the money, right? And what a parent wants. So see, they totally miss that point. They want their children because they're investing in their children to have the best education because the best education for them it's a guarantee for a better future for their children so the children in the future could support them when they're gonna retire. And see from the French perspective they totally miss that point. So
So, in order
yeah.
to find the better way to navigate the ethical or unethical discussion, it's
Yeah.
always the reference point.
Yeah, I mean, it's what is the perspective. But for them, when I was trying to explain them, look, guys, in Asia, it's not free the education. You're lucky enough in France that it's free, but it doesn't work like that. In Korea, Korea is actually, the biggest market for like class after school, like private tutoring. It's the number one market.
Ah,
I think it's like a $3 billion market. It's like completely insane.
wow.
And yeah, because it is structured like that. It's the way that society works. I mean, yeah. So yeah, I mean, there was a reason for my business at the time exist because according to this culture, it was working. They were ready, and for them, that was not unethical. But in France, they're like, oh no, it's a scam. I'm not gonna pay for someone. But yeah, I mean, is it really a scam when you're gonna make sure that your son or your daughter gonna have their dream school and live their best experience in a new country and having a degree that okay gonna make enough social proof or credibility to at least have their first job? Yeah.
It's so many pieces of business and also the practical knowledge that you bring here.
Yeah.
And I believe there's going to be a lot of people watching this, among them very young people, maybe some young Julien.
Yeah.
So I would like to ask you something that they may be asking. What piece of advice would you give to your younger self?
Well, I would say like the real issue the real issue when you are young, because you don't have that much experience, you really give too much about what other people think about yourself. And I feel like you begin to really live your life. It's like when you, and it's really challenging. That took me years, because in France it's all about your reputation and blah blah blah. I just like, yeah, if I could go back in the past, I would be like, yeah, just believe in yourself and like don't you don't care about the judgment of other people. Just do new experiences. Like try things out. There is so many things, and yeah, maybe the things you're gonna do not gonna be successful, but who cares? It's because what you really learn. It's not about the success. It's about your failure. How you're gonna fail. You need to fail, and unfortunately, today's we don't encourage people on failing. You need to be perfect. I mean, if you really check, it's like the representation of the world. You need to make things perfectly, but no, we should allow people to fail, to experience new things, and yeah, and encourage these people of not, excuse me the term, but not giving a fuck about what other people think. And when you liberate your mind from that, that's where really like you begin to live your best life. See, like it's like your podcast, like we're having this amazing conversation, but see, maybe in the beginning, I don't know, you were kind of scared, like, oh, I never done a podcast. See, there's something for me. I wanted to launch my podcast. I think it's like from 2 years ago. I've been interviewing over like 50 podcasts, but see, for me, being in the position of the interviewer, it's still scary. Yeah, one day I'm gonna be like, okay, this is the right time, and I'm gonna do it. And yeah, it's it's about that, not being scared of what other people are gonna think.
Such a powerful message because uh, so many people want to be perfect,
Yeah,
and it's like, hey, it's time to move on. Move it
yeah,
quicker, move it quicker, move it quicker.
exactly. I mean, people tend to overthink today, but the world we are living, we are in 2023. Our world go way too fast. I mean, if you are not an executioner, you're not gonna have things done. Say, giving you an example, last Thursday I create this community, LinkedIn local. Okay, now in 4 days we're already 160 people. I've met what? Already 7 people since last Thursday. I mean, can you imagine? I arrived like 3 months. I met no one in care, but now I was like, okay, that's time to act. I'm gonna build my network. Landed already a new client. Potentially have a second client out of this 7 meeting, and that's all about that. If you don't take action, you're not gonna have anything. And yeah, so yeah, it's really about that. It's like be an executioner. It's like if you want to create content, I don't know, on LinkedIn or TikTok, whatever the platform, put your message out there. Or I don't know, you have a podcast. Why would you wait? I don't know. Like some people are gonna say, "Oh, but I need to have a certain number of followers." No. What if now that you master the production of the podcast, you begin to look, okay, how could I monetize that podcast? And what if, like, yeah, the vision is even like larger. Is like because you begin to monetize that podcast, like you told me, yeah, I'm gonna have a studio. I think like for you that's kind of I don't know, I'm maybe just making an assumption, but I think like you produce enough, you are legit enough, you don't need to have a imposter syndrome to be like, okay, how I become a specialist on prospecting people so they can sponsor my podcast, because I'm producing value and I deserve to make money out of it. And see, that would be my piece of advice, because I think it's cool what you are doing, and yeah, you need to make money out of it, first of all, and second, you can finally reinvest that money to have your own studio and really grow. 2 years ago, I did the podcast called The Honest Drink, hosted by Julien in Shanghai. So the concept, okay, is very funny. It's like you drink whiskey during 2 hours, and like yeah, the guy just hosted me like that in his apartment. The guy grows so much, believe it or not. It's just in Shanghai. There was a lockdown. Now you begin to hire a team of video producer and all of this, because the guy was consistent. He believed in it, and he prospect himself, begin to have like some sponsorship. He had time for that. I mean, yeah, had some real estate in New Jersey, so okay, that brings some passive income. That's cool. And yeah, it's really about like first of all, how do you create? I feel like for this kind of thing is like you need to create indeed enough money passively. That's why like for myself, I'm getting back in content creation, because I feel with my agency now I reach a certain level of financial stability that allows me enough time to okay create a new business about publishing, because I want to understand okay, how do you sell and make 6 figures a year on Amazon by selling books, or by combining artificial intelligence and a team of designers, so or learn Amazon ads. And that's what is cool about entrepreneurship. And on the other hand, I was like, okay, let's recreate a community where I can again build opportunities, but as well create significance for people to build their next opportunities, because yeah, I feel like it's kind of my strength is like gather people together and connecting them and making sure like telling them okay, you can make more, because I'm not ambitious only for myself, but I want people to be ambitious for themselves and believing that they can do more and not limiting themselves about, okay, I'm here and I'm fine at that level. No. What if you are impacting even more people? Your inspiration is Joe Rogan. What if you become the Joe Rogan of Asia? Like,
Who knows?
who knows?
Yeah,
Yeah.
only time will tell.
Yeah.
But also the volume of work. And I
Yeah.
cannot find a better way to close this episode.
Yeah.
Because it does have such a powerful message.
Exactly.
Julien, thank you very much
Yeah,
for
thank
this.
you so much.
How can people find you?
Well, find me on LinkedIn, Julien Sicard, always happy to connect. And yeah, definitely, let's talk about business opportunities, what we could develop together. Thank you, guys. Take care.
Well, that was Julien Sicard, and this has been Fabian Vera, so please stay safe and see you when I see you. Bye.
Bye bye.